Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Monday night, and it is June 5th, Monday night. And I just realized I might have put June 6th in the details. How funny is that? It's Monday, June 5th. God, I know that it's Monday, June 5th. My mother and I had that conversation only 17,000 times today. Yeah, Monday, June 5th. And I am live because it's kind of a spur of the moment thing. I wanted to talk about Mercury. So whether anybody gets to hear this right up front right away or not is okay. We'll put this on the replay, and for whoever wants to see it can see it. Mercury is our thoughts. It's our thinking. It's our communication. It is the way we consume information because Mercury is about learning. Yeah, it's about learning. The way you learn, how you learn, the speed at which you learn. You know how everybody learns differently? Some people can watch somebody do something and they have it like that. And some people no, I need to watch that a few times and then they get it. Some people are they do better if they have information in front of them that they can read and look through and maybe even write notes down about, right? Everybody learns differently at a different rate of speed. And so the planet Mercury has a large part to do with that. It's the mind. Mercury is our mind. Now, we're talking about Mercury. I'm bringing this up because I got a question today. It wasn't really a question. It was a comment on the channel. And I thought, you know what? I haven't talked about this enough lately. And it kind of was gnawing on me today after that. I thought, I really just want to kind of do a quick little video about it. And I thought, well, what the hell? I didn't put up a video for Monday evening. So we'll do this instead. Um, and so we're going to talk about Mercury a little bit more and the sun. Now, the sun is how we shine. It's the way we stand out uniquely and how we radiate. The sun is about something very different about who you are. There's that, that thing you do that makes you you. That's the sun. So it's our uniqueness. It's you being a person that somehow, it's like I'm not a cookie cutter. I'm not a spitting image of somebody. Or if I am, what will I do? I will even maybe communicate in a way that's unique because it's all about a very creative force that flows through us. Have you ever met a pair of twins? Even if the parents, right, especially when they're little, they dress them in the very same clothing. And it's like, okay. And so that's kind of cute when they're really small. But then as they grow older, they develop their own personalities. And you find out they're, when you talk to them, even they're like sometimes night and day. Have you ever met twins that don't get along at all, that actually don't care for one another? So the thing there is the mind, the way we think, the way we talk, the way we communicate. But the sun part of it, the sun is the way that person expresses, the way they shine and the way they radiate. And so it's not so much what they're saying, it's how they say it, right? And so that's where our creativity comes in. And some people take creativity to another level. They'll draw, or they'll be, just think of how you can be creative lots of different ways. People choose gardening for creativity. People paint, right? People literally sew and knit. Some people can mold and you like clay and there's 1,000 different ways that we can be creative. So I wanted to take this time to talk about Mercury and the sun. And the other thing about the sun is it is your willpower. And that is what makes the way that you create, the way that you radiate and shine, the way that you stand out. That's what makes it uniquely you, because your will power is involved there. And so I'm bringing up some things that I've talked about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. And I have some videos on the channel, and I realized today that shit's really old. I need to get some more updated information on that stuff, or I at least need to do a more current video. So this is gonna kind of be that because Mercury being the mind, being the way I talk and radiate and communicate, and there's a rule that I know, you know, lots of astrology people know the rule, but I'm curious for anybody out there, do you know the rule about Mercury and the sun? There's a standing rule about Mercury and the sun, about the distance between the Mercury and the sun and the different effects of the mind, Mercury, and the sun, the way you're going to talk and radiate and express, and like the way that you do it, right? But there is a rule. There's a rule. What is it? What happens when the sun and Mercury get really close? What happens when they get far apart? How about when Mercury's in front of the sun? How about when Mercury's behind the sun, even? Right. It has to do, it changes the way you think. It changes the way that you're consuming information, the way you're learning, the way you share information. So it's powerful. And I think we can spend some time talking about it. I do have a chart because I didn't want to do this for too long, but I have a chart because this was very sudden, very spontaneous. We do have Venus at 0 degrees in Leo today. So that kind of is a big part of it. Leo likes to be the entertainer. The chart I have, though, is showing a prime time for Mercury, a prime time for thinking, or is it? So we'll discuss. We'll dive into that, and then I will hopefully be able to take some. Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk, communicate. Let's see if there's anybody here. I got to move this thing out of the way. I got Taffy in the room with me. I know she's here. Um, I'm sorry. I'm not even with the chat yet. Let me see if I have. Oh wow, I got a lot of things going on all of a sudden. Hold on. Let me see what we got here. I don't know how many of these charts I need. Uh, let's see. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. I know, right? Such a spontaneous thing. And so Sun and Mercury together. We started off talking about Mercury, talking about how it's the mind and how the sun is your willpower. Your willpower. So depending upon your chart, right? And we can go more deeper into this. Oh yeah, before I forget, we can go more deeper into this or things that are like this, but make it way more personal. Like when we do like a special live, like the private lives live, right? So if anybody who is listening hasn't sent me an email, the digits are below. I'm getting a really weird feeling right now. Holy shit. This is wild. Okay, maybe it's just me. I don't know. So yeah, comment to me below or go to the email. I should say, don't comment below. Go to the email and let me know that you want to be part of these special private lives, right? Which means it's not on YouTube. It's basically by link only. You cannot attend unless you're given a link. And so it's gives an opportunity to go a little bit deeper, more private into whatever astrology thing we're talking about. Usually it's deep stuff. And so if anybody wants to be a part of that, let me know. And also, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out when I can do it, like what is a convenient time. I'm thinking in my head it will definitely be at the same time, but definitely not on Saturday night because we already have a live on Saturday night, right? We have the Starry Night Lives on Saturday night. So it will likely be a different day of the week. Friday so far, I think. I don't have anything definite yet. Once I have things definite, I will let you guys know. And because I'm just trying to figure all those details out now. But yeah, let me know by emailing me. And so for all of you who've already emailed me, thank you. I've gotten some emails back, and that's great. Oh, Dina's coming in with the details, and here it is. She got the answers in there. She got the answers in there. All right. Weird feeling? You will understand later. Yeah, it felt like I had a visitor. It really felt like we had somebody coming in to visit. And yeah. And when that happens, I'm kind of derailed from my point of focus. And yeah, I have like a point of focus and I'm trying to be like, not right now, damn it, come back later. So where did it go? Did I miss it already? I really don't. Okay, where did that go? I saw the answer oh, look at this. Okay, great. Okay, so Sarah says a Kazimi. What language is that? First of all, I've never even heard of that. Cazimi is when a planet is within 1 degree of the sun. Okay, combust is not necessarily 0 degrees of the sun. Okay, so far sounds good. Now let's go back here and go to this one. Oh, that's not the one. Geez, G, where are you at? There you go. Weak. Weak. It's weak. That's what happens. What becomes weak, right? So I wanted to kind of dive into this because I haven't, like I said, talked about this in a while. If you got Mercury, your mind, and if Mercury gets close to the sun, if Mercury is conjunct the sun, right? What becomes weaker? Mercury becomes weaker. Mercury becomes weaker. It's influenced by the sun, combust. It becomes weak. Mercury becomes combust. So the sun kind of takes over, right? And what happens is like whatever sign the sun is in, the sun and Mercury, that kind of becomes the theme. And therefore, your Mercury, the way you're thinking, you're talking, you're communicating, whatever you're learning about, it kind of takes all the overtones of that sun energy. And what did I first say about the sun? The sun is your willpower. You see? So what that means is then somebody could talk to you or you could say something to somebody else. You could read something and your willpower can influence what you think you've just learned, influence the way you're communicating, influence what you're hearing and how you're taking it in. You follow? So typically the rule, I'm calling it a rule. Typically that ancient rule is you have to wait for the sun and for Mercury to get a certain amount of degrees away from each other. Okay. And there are differences because what if it's this Mercury behind the sun? What if it's the Mercury in front of the sun? So let's just pretend. Well, no, let's just not pretend. Let's just say the rule. The rule is 10 degrees. 10 degrees. When Mercury gets 10 degrees away from the sun, right? At that point, that Mercury feels more, it's more spot on, or at least more logical and rational and less emotional or less influenced by the sun and the sign that it's in necessarily. Make sense? But what if it's, what's the difference if it's in front of the sun or behind the sun? There is a difference. So it's not a simple rule of 10 degrees, right? It's not. It's confusing. So that's right. Right. A lot of good information here. And yes, all the planets work this way. But tonight's focus was Mercury and the sun because I was inspired by a comment under a video today. Okay, or maybe it was yesterday. I'm not sure which day it was, but it was a recent comment. And I realized I hadn't talked about that in a long time. And I also hadn't talked about the sun and the willpower, your willpower being in that sun. Okay. So here is the thing. Well, actually, let me go here. I see people got comments here, so let me go to these comments. Um, Eileen says, I think I might have hit this before. Combust is not necessarily 0 degrees. Right. It's when Mercury's close. It's when any planet is close to the sun, right? She said it's Latin. Thank you. I've been hearing, wow, I haven't. Like zero. Interesting. Okay. Kazemi means it shines. Okay. We are just slamming this. This is good. Combust. Wait, let me do this on my phone. It's so much easier to read. Did I bring my headphones in here? Um, let's see. Let me see. So I can read this thing. I do have it on the board. Oh, Mercury thoughts and communication. Okay, cool. I'm digging this. Okay, so the question or the comment is combust frequency. Where did the damn thing go? Combust frequency, Mercury does it 6 times a year, and Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn only do it once a year. This is why you likely hear Mercury, um, and the issues because whenever Mercury retrogrades, we know Mercury retrogrades often, right? So every time Mercury retrograde, that sun gets closer and closer and closer, and then Mercury ends up being behind the sun, right? That happens. So then Mercury has to catch up, and that's where we're at now. Think about it. The sun is in Gemini right now, and well, the sun is in Gemini. Mercury's over here in Taurus. Mercury's got to catch up. How's it going to do it, right? Like the sun is moving 1 degree a day. Mercury's a fast mover, right? But is it going to catch up? No, it doesn't catch up. It doesn't catch up and pass the sun and get 10 degrees in front of the sun until where's my damn chart? Where's my chart? I have it here, so I'll just show it for you. You might not be able to see this, so let me there you go. It's July 9th. In ancient astrology, it's considered that each planet, when it gets close to the sun, that it is burned. Yeah, the sun overpowers it for sure. Okay. So when the sun is conjunct Mercury, the ego takes over because some people, right? The sun ruling Leo energy, they consider Leo a little bit of the ego. And what's interesting, gee, we enjoy when you are inspired and do extra lives. Well, I got some really interesting emails, and I had no idea that, I don't know, that people actually wanted to, you know, be live more often. And I thought, well, we'll see what we can do. I don't always get to do it, to be honest with you. So I thought, well, if I can do it right now, I'll do it. And it seems for where I'm at anyway, the later the better. So look at this after this comment about the ego taking over. My fiance from Melanie, my fiance has Mercury at 16 degrees and Sun at 9 degrees in Pisces. So the Sun is at 9 degrees, the Mercury's at 16. He has a massive ego, but he's also a Leo rising. So it's a Pisces Sun, but he's a Leo rising and his Mercury at 16. So here's the thing. Are they 10 degrees apart? Your fiance's chart is kind of like a good example. At least what you have here, which is the 16-degree Mercury, but the sun at 9 degrees. Has anybody nothing wrong with a healthy ego? No, absolutely. There is nothing wrong with a healthy ego. That's right. It's the difference of a healthy ego as opposed to an egomaniac, right? When we don't keep our ego in check. Absolutely. Sun 0 degrees and Mercury close to 15 degrees. I have my sun and Mercury in Scorpio also. At what degrees, Melanie? Do you know your Melanie? Do you know your Melanie? Do you know your Melanie? Have you checked your Melanie today? Like, what the hell? Do you know what your degrees are, Melanie? Is what I was trying to say. Do you know your Melanie? Oh my God. I have a sun conjunct Pluto. Who else here? Yeah, well, fun with that one. I have my sun and Mercury in Scorpio. Yeah, your degrees. That's what I was asking you, Melanie, if you know the degrees, because that's important to know. Here's the thing. Think about this. It might be kind of hard to think about it if you don't look at other people's charts. But if you do, especially if it's like a fiance or the partner, whoever you're married to, or even a best friend or a sibling or mom and dad or children, right? If you're looking at their charts, look where their Mercury is in the relationship to their sun. Okay. Because the Mercury being the way they talk and communicate, and the sun is ego, but it's the willpower. Okay. And so ego, willpower, it overrides, meaning you can say something to that person and it's going to be colored by their own willpower. Think about that. Like they're going to perceive what you're saying. It's going to color it. And that has to do with their natal chart, their birth chart, right? So a Mercury behind the sun, especially if it's a Mercury 10 degrees behind, like her example that Melanie gave, she said that like her fiance his Mercury was at 16, but his Sun was at 9. Let's switch those around. Let's say that his Sun is at 16 and his Mercury is at 9, right? Which means the Sun is way ahead of the Mercury. It's higher in numbers. It's way ahead of the Mercury, right? So what happens? That Mercury normally, now let's put into context. If it's like in Pisces, that might not count. But normally, if your Sun is way ahead, I'm sorry, if your Mercury is way ahead of your Sun, these people normally will get information before everybody else. And this can come through whether it's looking things up, whether it's because of their, they're learning, they're reading, but it can also be because they're in tune with the outer energies and they hear things. And it doesn't have to necessarily be like they're hearing, incorrect things. They'll have those knowings. They'll have those knowings. They'll have the understanding of nuances with what's going on. Mercury energy, remember, connected to Hermes, connected to, I'm getting information of the gods type of energy, right? When the Mercury is in front of the Sun, but it can't be like super close. When it's a good distance in front of the Sun, these people can have like premonition type of energy where they're going to know things. Now, there would have to be other things in the chart that you have to look at because it can get squashed. If it's being squared by something, it can definitely slow it down and hamper it, or it can even angle it in a way. If it's Neptune or something, gets angled in a way where, oh yeah, they know something, all right. And it's a bunch of BS, right? Or they may, and it's not BS as in like people are trying to lie, although Mercury's known as the trickster. That's why we always have to be careful. But it's that angled up energy that can bring, it can just mix the information up and it might not seem so legit. So when the Sun and Mercury are together, our Mercury is weakened. Our mind is weakened. Our ability to learn and to remember things. Oh my God. To remember things. It can be tricky, right? And we may spew information out or talk, and all of a sudden we're like, our words are jumbled and we're all mixed up. So that can happen. Okay. So what happens when the Mercury is behind the Sun? Think about that. When the Mercury is behind the Sun. So if the Mercury is behind the Sun, then it's like that Mercury, the information is delayed, right? It's like that information, that person gets the information later on. They may not pick up as quickly. Now there can be other things in their chart that support that they're a very fast learner, okay? But these are just examples of Mercury and the Sun being too close. And the whole freaking reason I am going into all of that was because of the comment under the channel, which was saying, I'm keeping track of Mercury and the Sun. And obviously this is somebody who has like a strong Mercury mind. And so they know that if they have to make a decision, Mercury making decisions, they are saying to themselves, I'm waiting for when Mercury pulls out 10 degrees in front of the Sun, because they feel that they're going to be able to make a better decision, that they'll have all the facts, that things will be more clear, that they won't be prone to Mercury's tricks because it's far enough away from the Sun. And so typically the ruling is, you wait till it gets like that 10 degrees apart. And that rule also applies to like the births, when a planet has a birth, right? What does that mean? Whenever the Sun and a planet come together and then they separate, it's like the birth of Venus, the birth of Mercury, right? The birth of Mars, whatever planet, because they get burnt, right? They combust, but then it pulls away. And typically there's a birth then, because it had a conversation with the Sun. The Sun is like the general, right? The Sun says, these are the new orders you're going to get. And so it comes away different. So we call it kind of like a birth, like a rebirth, right? So on this chart, I thought, I'm going to look this up. This person had a great question, or it wasn't even a question. It was more like a comment. And I thought, I'm going to look this up and I'm going to go over this real quick. The thing that is interesting is, first off, let's see if you guys can see that date there. Of course you can, right? July 9th. You know what? Let me remove that comment, Melanie. Hold on a second. Let me get rid of that comment real quick. There we go. Now you can see it, okay? So it's July 9th. This is when Mercury pulls out in front of the sun. So July 9th, let's go find it. Let's go a little bit smaller and see if we can find it. Ah, I see the sun. You see it? There's the sun at 1724. And there's Mercury at 27 degrees. So they're 10 degrees apart here. But there's a catch. There's a catch with this, isn't there? We got a stellium in Cancer energy. What does the sign of Cancer mean? This is definitely a catch. I'm so glad that this was like in my head, because there's a reason this was in my head, whether I wanted it or not. Because if you have to make a choice or make important decisions and you're waiting for that Mercury to pull out ahead of the sun, that's smart, right? But it's in the sign of Cancer. Why might there be a problem? And maybe problem isn't the right word. How about a challenge? Why might there be a challenge? Right, a stellium. Anybody know? I'm going to go to the chat. I'm going to look. Uh-oh. Oh, I still got the chat. Cancer is emotions. I see it. Spot on. Spot on. Melanie, I see you said I've got my South Node conjunct Mercury in Scorpio. Wow, y'all got some good comments going on here. I didn't even see all this. Holy crap. Christy said my Mercury is at 4. Christy, you got your chart. My Mercury is 4 and the sun is 29. So my Mercury is in front of the sun. What sign are we talking? Because if your sun is at 29, your Mercury can be in a different sign. And that's a whole nother thing altogether. Oh my God, we didn't even talk about that. I mean, I only mentioned the 60 degrees apart. That's a damn good question, Christy. We'll get to it. For right now, the emotions is a big thing. Emotions cloud thinking, don't they? If we're emotional, yep, it's never a good time to make a decision, an important decision, if we're highly emotional, right? It's not to say that emotions are bad. Emotions are good. But we just have to make sure, especially since we were being so cautious, to make a decision during a time when Mercury was in front of the damn sun, right? So the trick here is, yes, Mercury's in front of the sun, but it's in Cancer energy. And the thing about Cancer, other than emotions, is also the empathic qualities. So if you're someone who is highly empathic, you're not talking about just your feelings and emotions either, right? Influencing your thoughts, influencing your decisions, influencing the way you communicate, right? Yep. That's a thing. So I also see we're going to have Black Moon Lilith here at this time. Okay. This is a lot of power to all you water signs, all that Scorpio energy out there. But look, I know we're not going to get into this part of this, but I'm just taking a gander over here. Look at this. Venus at 25 and look at Mars at 29 in Pallas Athena. Holy smokes. Woo. What's the date on this damn thing? Okay, guys, mark that down, July 9th. That looks like a big day. A big day in some way, because Mercury's going to be hitting 29 degrees, a critical degree. So we're going to have Mars and Mercury at a critical point. Mars is going to stay right where it is. It's a slow mover. Mercury will catch up to Mars. Wow. This is feminine energy. Females, but anybody with anybody who exudes strong feminine energy, but this definitely would be like mother wound energy too. Mom issues, right? Mother wound. This is family. This is your ancestry, your tribe, like we got here, our tribe. People that you resonate with that you never even met. Hold on. Okay, Taffy heard somebody go into the kitchen. I got to let her out. Hold on a second. So having your Christy, to answer your question, this Mercury is ahead of this sun. The bigger number means it's ahead. Or if it's in the next sign, it's ahead of the sun. But being in the next sign can make it a little bit more complex. You follow? Because they're not having a communication about the exact same things. Okay. Does that make sense? So on this chart, Mercury is ahead of the sun. Mercury's at 2725. The sun is at 1724. And I might be at fault. I might have confused you. I might have said it the other way around when I was trying to give an example without showing a picture. And if I did that, I apologize. I probably said it wrong. So, what does this mean? It's not like crazy insane. It just means that as long as we're aware of this, right? And the fact that, yeah, we're also considering, yeah, these are like conversations about family and the past and history for sure. For sure. A lot of that going on. A whole lot of that. That's why I said ancestry. When I was growing up, now they got like the ancestry.com. When I was growing up, we always called it, we never used the word ancestry when I was a kid, ever. When I was in school and we would have to do remember you'd have to do I don't know, you might have to write a little like 1-page paragraph or some crap and then like read it out loud in front of the class. I'm talking grade school. And it was more about your ethnicity was the word they would use. Ethnicity. That's what we were taught anyway. And so it was like, okay, where did your people come from? Right? And so it was like your heritage, your family and your heritage. But yeah, your ancestry. I think that kind of goes further back. Ancestry is a little bit deeper of a dive, at least the way we understand it today. My housemates are really into that show, and I hear it whenever I'm trying to edit. Finding Your Roots, right? With such and such, with so and so. So Melanie, did we get an answer on your degrees? I have. She's like, I'm going to give her my whole damn chart. I have Saturn conjunct Sun in Scorpio. Also, my Mercury is at 29. My Sun is at 13. Okay, so again, Mercury and the Sun is what I'm looking for here, so I can stay focused. She says your Saturn is conjunct your Sun in Scorpio. Okay, that definitely changes things. Wow. So in your birth chart, my Mercury's at 29 degrees. Does that mean it's in Scorpio? It's in Scorpio, I'm assuming, at 29 as well. So your Mercury's way ahead of your Sun. Your Sun's at 13. Your Mercury's way ahead. Plus, you have Scorpio energy, a lot of Scorpio energy. The only thing about having Saturn there on your Sun, I mean, Scorpio's super powerful. This actually might be a benefit for you, having your Saturn on the Sun. Saturn restricts. It kind of, says, but we're going to compartmentalize you, and like it can restrict. It can feel restrictive. And if it's restrictive and it restricts your Sun, then that means it restricts possibly some of the ego, possibly some of your willpower. It kind of restricts the way you uniquely shine and radiate. Some people might say this person might be a little shy. Like if somebody, unless they I haven't seen your chart, at least I don't think I've seen your chart. But it could express that way. So your Sun, in essence, even though the Saturn should be burnt out by the sun, but it's a 5-degree difference. Like, you're right, your Saturn's at 18, your sun is at 13. So, yeah, I'm just curious with that. I'm curious if the sun, although it is a Scorpio sun, maybe it's in your chart that way, that your Saturn gets power from somewhere else. Because I haven't seen your chart. So my Mercury's at 23 degrees after my sun. This means what? Well, Eiley, just like in this chart, is so you're saying the Mercury is after your sun. And I know that's confusing. So can you tell me the degrees? Is your Mercury the lower degrees than your sun, is what you're saying? Because it's, yeah, behind the sun. Is that what you mean? It's behind the sun when you say after? I just want to be clear because this can get confusing really fast without a visual and without saying numbers. Saturn also in Scorpio around 27 degrees at Melanie. Okay, sorry. Yes, but at what degree? Okay, my Mercury is in Pisces in the 7th house. But where's your sun, Renee, in conjunction to your, you probably already gave it. In conjunct, like, where's your sun? That's what we're looking for. Where is our sun and our Mercury? Because it's important. And how we communicate and talk and radiate. And Renee, for yours, I mean, I know you're a Leo rising, but would this be silly or, and I know I've seen your chart multiple times, but I don't have it memorized where your Mercury and your sun is. My Mercury's at 4, sun 29, so my Mercury's in front of the sun. Right. You're right, Christy. So your Mercury's in front of your sun. And this, oh, wait a minute. You said my Mercury is 4, my sun is 29. Oh, I'm so sorry. Am I making things confusing? Christy, I think I told you something different before. Holy shit. Have I lost my damn mind tonight? It's a good thing we're talking about Mercury. Have I lost my Mercury? What the hell? If your Mercury's behind your sun, which it is, Mercury at 4 and sun is 29. And my eyeball must have jumped where you said my Mercury is in front of the sun. Not if your sun is at 29, right? Use the numbers. This Mercury at 27 is in front. Oh, Lord, I have it pointing at Vulcan. Is in front of this sun at 17. You follow? Yeah. That Mercury has a higher number in the same sign. The sign in front of the next sign ahead of Cancer is Leo. Unless I'm like really just messing this up and making this too confusing, which is a very good possibility. There's Mercury, 27 degrees. It's in front of the sun, is what we call that. Higher degree in front of the sun. So for you, if what you're saying is on point, then that means your Mercury is behind your sun, which could lead to you feeling as though, although you have a lot of intuitive energy in your chart, so this might not even be a thing for you, Christy. For people who are super intuitive, they learn to kind of like go with that stuff where they know. But the Mercury mind stuff and the question being that far behind the sun, it might at times, especially maybe during school, felt like you kind of got stuff later, or the way that you learned seemed slower in some way or was delayed in some way. The information was delayed in some way. South Node conjunct Mercury. Holy crap. I'm just reading that again. Talk about a superpower. The South Node is already your superpower. Yeah, the South Node is already your superpower, but then your Mercury's on your South Node. So your South Node is that innate ability, that shit you were just born with and you knew how to do it, right? South Node in Scorpio. Oh, these are people who were like mediums in other lifetimes, like you already been there, done that, right? Mediumistic qualities, the occult and all that crap. Like this is nothing new for you, South Node in Scorpio. Mercury conjunct it enforces it, it reinforces it. It Your mind is always on it, right? So it would be really hard to accomplish your north node then because you got Mercury conjunct your south node in Scorpio. Holy crap. Which means your north node is in Taurus. So unless you have some planets on that north node, well, I know I've been extremely emotional the past couple of days. Venus has been at the 29 degrees of the sign of Cancer. I've been extremely emotional, she said, the last couple of days. Venus was the whole weekend. Venus was nearing critical degrees of Cancer energy the whole weekend long. Today, Venus changed 0 degrees of Leo. Some of you might have felt a little bit fired up. Oh my God, my mother, holy shit. Very fired up today. I mean, yeah, like, yeah, just very fired up, like night and day from yesterday to today. Very different, very fired up, very short conversations, which is probably for the best because when she gets like that, she becomes, yeah, it's kind of hard to have a conversation. She's just all about, what are you calling for? Is there anything else? No, mom, I just wanted to help you double check those meds. That's it. And then she's like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. And then we'll do the meds. And she's like, is there anything else? Is there anything else you want from me? Or anyway. And then she'll say things that just like, yeah, she's not all there. Well, we're going to go into the bathroom because you need your meds. That's what she tells me. You need your meds. Yes, mom, I need my meds. So Adina, wow, I love Scorpio. Okay, I must perfect. Okay. Gee, you got some taffy treats down the hallway. That's where she went. Down the hallway to go get her taffy treats. Mercury in Virgo and Sun in Leo. Okay, so they're in different signs. Well, there you go. You have a Mercury in Virgo. There's a big difference then, isn't it? Your sun is out in front because it's in the Leo energy, right? Or I'm sorry, your sun is behind. Wait a minute. Mercury in Virgo. Back up. Mercury is in Virgo. That doesn't match what you told us. And that's totally fine. I'm confused now. Okay, so if yeah, let me show the example. All right, let's go like this. Here's the chart, right? Now on this chart, Christy, let's just pretend. How about we don't pretend? We can go ahead and use Christy's chart. Is that okay? Be a great example. Chart example. So we're going to move this a little bit so it helps us to see the full chart for Christy. Christy. We're going to find your Virgo and Leo energy. Okay. Now, what's confusing is when we say front and behind, just remember that the way the chart runs is it literally goes counterclockwise, right? Here's number 1, here's number 2, here's number 3, and so on, right? That's how the chart goes. So if I'm going to say that something is in front of something, right? We just got to kind of continue it. We got to follow those numbers of those houses, right? And then we go like that. So like, yeah, number 11 is in front of number 10. Number 10 is in front of number 9. Okay. There's your Leo energy. And there's your sun in Leo at 29 critical degrees, which is why when Christy gets on, man, she is just like, man, like you can just hear. It's just she just comes through clear and full of like firepower and life, almost like a roar, seriously. And Regulus is right next to Christy. So it's super freaking powerful. Super powerful. Regulus, really powerful. Regulus is the king of the jungle. That's a fixed star. It's a royal star. It's considered the king, the president, literally. Now, your Mercury is in front, Christy. It's in front of the sun. You see that? Yep, it's in front because the sign of Virgo is in front of the sign of Leo. And to clarify it, right, to help it make it simple, like house number 10 is in front of house number 9. Yep. And, don't feel like, I don't know. I don't want you to feel like I'm saying this in a condescending tone or anything. Like that is totally not what I'm doing. I'm really just trying to break this down in a really basic way because it's easy to get confusing. There's a lot of shit here. And, that's just astrology. There's no way to there's no way to me to oversimplify astrology. I don't think there's such a thing. I think the more basic and simple you can make it, the easier, people can grasp it. So, having your Mercury in front of your sun, you're getting information ahead of time. Does that make more sense, Christy? Does that make more sense? Um, I would think it makes more sense for you. And my thinking was that you have so much water energy. We've seen your chart before, a lot of water trine energy that if you had a Mercury that was far behind and that didn't get information ahead of time, the high intuitions would take care of it. The intuitive abilities would take care of it. They would kick in, and it wouldn't be Mercury, it wouldn't be the mind, it would be your intuitions, which is different. It's very different. With your intuitions, it's more like a knowing. It's more like a knowing. The mind, that's different. That's kind of that's a different thing. It's a different beast or a different animal. Make sense? It's not bad, but it is powerful. Very powerful. And it takes a lot of self-control. We have to literally know and be able to recognize it and be like, okay, I need to like tone that shit down. I need to dial that back. Once we do that and we're taking control at that point, and then it really makes a difference. So you have a similar chart with my little nephew. Okay, that's them having a conversation. Renee says at G 948 Pisces Mercury, and my sun is 625 in Aries. Her sun is way ahead. Let's use that as an example. That's a great idea. Another chart where they're in different signs. Oh, I didn't really talk about that. Okay, I'm sorry. I should. Yeah, I don't know where my brain is. Where's my brain? Let's pull that up, Renee. Let's do that for you real quick here. Christy, the other thing on your chart that I didn't mention, your Mercury, even though it was in a different sign, right? Your Mercury was in a different sign. Where did your chart go? It was it still in her 10th? Or was it in her 11th? Was it also in the same house still or a different house? Because that would make it even more complex. Not only a different sign, but a different house. And there's just more layers of information that you have to consider, right? Yeah. So then it seems more confusing because it's like, wait a minute. Well, anytime there's more pieces to the puzzle, as opposed to you open up a box and there's only 8 pieces to the puzzle. Oh, okay. That's for your toddler to do or whatever, or for your first grader to do. But then you get the 1,000 piece puzzle and it's like, holy shit, right? Yeah, there's more pieces to it and it's going to be a little bit different. So there's Renee's chart, and we're looking for her Mercury and her sun because that's the topic of the hour. And here we go. Renee's sun is that little thing right there, the sun. You see that? That's Renee's sun. Now, Renee's Mercury, look where Renee's Mercury is. Way behind her sun. Her sun is in Aries, right? House number 8, which is in front of house number 7. So her Mercury not only is behind the sun, it's in Pisces. So typically the rule would be her Mercury's far enough away from her sun. So she's got like a strong Mercury, right? She should be able to think clearly. She should be able to, make clear decisions and not be too confused. You notice I said the word confused. And I'm saying that because it's in Pisces. And so it's in Pisces and it's behind the sun, behind the sun. So sometimes your information, it may come to you and you might feel like you're catching up. You might feel like you found out last. You might feel like, you know, it's something or just didn't make any sense to you at the time. You didn't get it. Maybe you were a slow learner with certain things. It doesn't mean we're a slow learner at everything. Okay. Especially when we find out how we learn best, right? I mean, it's easy to talk about this when we're older, right? After we're done with school, it's a lot easier to talk about it. We're just like, "Oh, yeah, I figured all that out," but man, how were you in school, right? Like I told you guys, when I was in primary school, first, even kindergarten, even freaking kindergarten, it wasn't really like report cards, but they'd have these little things. And I don't know if they did like with, I forget how they graded them with effort or some shit. I don't know. I had like straight Fs for the longest time. I shouldn't have passed any of those grades. I was in a private school though, and I guess yeah, they pass you. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, it just depends. And your Mercury being behind your sun would say that there's going to be a delay with information somehow. Also, the fact that it's in Pisces, it's a little confusing. The details are a little blurry. Plus, being in the seventh house, that will definitely influence your choices and your decisions. That seventh house stuff, relationships, that influences it. Okay. Now, you could have other things in your chart totally that make up for it, that like make up that ground where you felt like you were running behind, right? Your intuitions, your um yeah, the willpower. And I'm mentioning willpower, sun and Aries. Aries is ego for sure. Sun is ego. So that strength comes through pretty strongly. And in your chart, Renee, I don't know if you're aware of this because I've been pulling up some different things and I don't think I've seen your chart in a while. But at 0 degrees in your chart in fire, at 0 in fire, Renee has a trine, a grand. I didn't say grand fire trine, did I? No, because she doesn't have a grand fire trine, but she has a fire trine with Cherokee. Oh no, Persephone, right? That's Persephone? Persephone and Hermes. Persephone and Hermes. Look at that. Wow. That's something. So Persephone is the one who's got like that isolation syndrome type thing. I shouldn't say syndrome, but she kind of feels like she's been abandoned. Like she's in a place, separation anxiety, they say, but where she's in a place where it's new territory, unfamiliar territory. But you have a trine with that, with Hermes, and Hermes is the messenger of the gods, literally. Like there's a whole video about Hermes. It's really good. Um, Very powerful energy comes through. It is information. It's like a higher octave of Mercury. That's a superpower. That's a strength having that. That is a big strength. And it's in your eighth house. So that can make it tricky, eighth house, because you might get information from the other side. And that can complicate things at times. But it's the trine energy. Powerful, powerful, powerful. And the fact that, well, I already talked about that, of how they're in different houses. Yeah. Because your sun is in the eighth house. So it's about the deep bonds and emotions, the occult, big time, right? The occult, the other world. Absolutely. And yeah, maybe one day, I don't know, Renee, if you connect and if you do, I mean, I know you're like a hard working woman, you got kids and stuff, but you like bringing in messages from the other side because you have Hermes in that location. That's a powerful place to have Hermes to bring in messages from the other side. But it's kind of funny because that's the other side, but then your Mercury and Pisces can be that too, but like it goes up another level. It's like a higher, it's more like divine energy when we talk about Pisces. So it's really interesting for you. It's a mixed bag, kind of like Christie's would be absolutely a mixed bag too. But you guys have those superpowers, those strengths that help you out. Nice. Makes sense. And I do attract a lot of alcoholics in my life. Whoa, where did that come from? Oh, because of the desire with good God, we're gonna have to look at this girl's chart. Now she's got me super curious. Melanie, do I have your chart? Like, did I actually draw it up before? Um, You're welcome, Renee. Thank you for appreciating. I love that. No, I sent you an email though. Okay, great. Let me see something. I want to see. So if I say Pisces ascendant at 3:35, does that sound right for you, Melanie? I don't know if I read an ascendant anywhere in your communication. Your planets are all going to be the same. It's the ascendant that's my question. Okay, so here you go. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at you here. Okay, so we're going to remove that so you can see this. And we're going to talk we're talking about Mercury and the sun, right? Okay, so here it is, Melanie. This chart, look at this. Her Mercury's at 0 degrees. I don't know. Her Mercury's at 0, and there's the south node she was talking about. There's her Saturn, her sun. Okay, 4 degrees away from each other. Okay, yep, got her Pluto. So you were, yeah, 1984. Okay, that makes sense. At least we know that part's all good, right? Scorpio stellium. Go on the channel and watch the videos on stelliums. You're going to want to know about that big time. Yeah, you got quite a bit of planets there. I mean, you have a lot of stelliums in your chart. Lots of planets all in the same sign. Lots of energy. Yeah. Wow. All right. So the focus is her Mercury. So we'll go back to that Mercury at 0 degrees. And then her sun. Look at her sun. Her sun is over here. So according to what we were just talking about, right? Our rule and understanding the sun and Mercury in communications, her sun is in house number 8. Wow. Okay. Let me try that again. What the hell is going on? There we go. That makes more sense. Her sun's in house number 8 and her Mercury's in house number 9. So her Mercury is ahead of her sun. It's in front of her sun. So sometimes the rule with the degrees, it's difficult, right? Because her Mercury is at 0 degrees. Her sun is at 14. So we always have to include the sign that it's in as well, right? So her Mercury's in Sagittarius at 0, and her sun is in psychic Scorpio at 1440. Technically, that's a 15-degree sun. Her Mercury's in Sag. Sag, I'm just going to be real here. Having a Mercury in front of the sun means normally you're going to get information sooner than others. You're going to know things, okay? You just come across it sooner, you just understand it faster, you pick up quicker, right? Yours not only is in front of the sun, but it's in freaking Sag. Sagittarius energy, it's sometimes we call it like sage energy. Like they have like their finger on the pulse of the future. They kind of know things. They understand the nuances of societies, and they kind of have an idea of where society's headed and what's going on in the world. They kind of get that premonition type of energy going. Sagittarius. They see into the future to some degree, okay? Now, the other piece is your Mercury is at 0 degrees, which amplifies the way you think and talk and communicate. And Sagittarius, like what you're doing here tonight, this girl's been all over the place. She's got her family's charts in here. You know, you're talking about everything and everybody, which is great. Your Mercury's super strong, powerful communicator, right? Very powerful, which is wonderful. It's Jupiter energy. Jupiter rules Sag, and it usually wants to spread its knowledge and its wisdom, right? Wants to spread it for sure. You even have your Venus. That's nice. You have Venus in Sag as well. So you have the siblings together in the same sign, and that actually is really good. I think it's really good because and it's like our the way what we think about and what we value kind of line up together. They don't conflict with each other. But This thing here, having Mercury ahead of your Scorpio energy and this being really psychic energy, that's Scorpio, like high intuitions, psychic power, psychic energy, mediumistic, because it's in the 8th house. Holy crap. You even have Pluto there connecting with people who are definitely connected on a soul level, like your souls. Yeah, you guys have history together. We'll put it like that. And then her freaking south node in Scorpio. Again, strong psychic abilities, strong intuitions, strong and just super intense people. Like anytime you see Scorpio, especially a lot of Scorpio, intense power, right? This is energy that can merge, that can blend, but not really blend, but bond. These are attachments. Scorpio and Taurus energy, right? Attachments. We create attachments, whether it's with people, but yours is with souls. Absolutely, Scorpio in the 8th house with souls, right? Right. You're going to connect and hook up with those people.